A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Saint Matthew.
Glory to you, O Lord, glory to you.
Let us be attentive. At that time, while Jesus was still addressing the crowds, his mother and his brothers appeared outside to speak with him. Someone said to him, "Your mothers and your brothers are standing out there, and they wish to speak to you." Jesus said to the one who had told him, "Who is my mother? Who are my brothers?" Then extending his hand towards his disciples, he said, "There are my mother and my brothers. Whoever does the will of my heavenly Father is brother and sister and mother to me." The same day, on leaving the house, Jesus sat down by the lake shore. Such great crowds gathered around him that he went and took his seat in a boat, while the crowd stood along the shore. He addressed them at length in parable.
Glory to you, O Lord, glory to you.
Glory to Jesus Christ.
Glory to him forever.
It is wonderful that this gospel and these words of Christ that we hear in today's gospel are read today, because the question that has been presented to Christ through the lips of that one of the people who were there during one of his addresses to the people in a house, and Christ points out to his apostles, to his students, to his followers, and he says, "There are my brother and there are my mother. Whoever does the will of my heavenly Father is brother and sister and mother to me." These words and this explanation of Christ is very deep, and it actually explains something that I wanted to talk about today in connection to the mystery of confession as well. First question comes: why would Christ create the mystery, the holy mystery of confession? Why would he think that humans needed that? And he had a very good reason for that, of course. And it starts right from the words that we hear today in this gospel. Our relationship with God, our relationship with our Creator, the relationship with the one who gives us existence, the world around us, who gave us our matter, our bodies, our form of our being, our souls. He gave us the purpose of our life. He gave us salvation as the objective for us to walk towards. Our relationship with this, I cannot even imagine of a word to explain this huge, immense, wonderful, wondrous being that we are ordained to have a relationship with. That relationship is sometimes broken. It is broken by a sin. It is broken by our, when we follow temptations, when we follow our weaknesses, when we act upon temptation, and when we act upon our weaknesses. Sin breaks the relationship with Christ. In today's gospel, Christ underlines that the relationship with Him is not by blood. Just because we believe in Him, that is not enough to have a healthy relationship with Christ. Just because that we are baptized, even that, this is the step, and probably the most important step in our existence, to establish the relationship of Christ. But just because we were baptized does not mean that our relationship still carries on. As we all know, relationship is something that you have to work on and keep it up constantly. Christ underlines that that there is nothing in this world that just because of its existence creates this relationship. For example, in our human relationships, just like he is pointing out, just because he's related to someone by blood does not establish a relationship yet. But the ones, he says, whoever does the will of my heavenly Father is brother and sister and mother to me. And this is an action, a stand that we have to take, and then an action that we have to constantly follow, that we have to constantly pursue this objective. Fulfill the will of the Heavenly Father, so that we can be a brother, sister, and mother to Christ. First of all, these words sound as an invitation. He invites us to think of our lives, to evaluate our lives, and to search ourselves. Search ourselves for sin and present that sin to God. That is already fulfilling the will of the Heavenly Father and establishing constant, continuous relationship with God. And this brings us to the holy mystery of confession. Holy mystery of confession, to understand it and to be able to practice it, to profit from it, that's the word, to be really able to profit from it, we have to understand first the concept of sin as such. And to understand the concept of sin, we have to understand the concept of grace. When God created us, He created us perfect. He created us holy. There was no sin in us. We did not even need the ability, as we pointed out the other day, we did not even need the ability to discern between good and evil, because there was no evil. We did not need that ability. And actually, us searching that ability constitutes the original sin. This was the first moment, the first time that a human being turned towards evil. They thought about evil. They thought about imperfection. And this is something that really did not exist before they ate from that tree. Once they thought of, I want to know what good and evil is. Well, they knew only good. So really what they were looking for is to know what evil is. They ate from the tree and they knew. And this is how sin enters the world. Sin enters the world also through a lie. It is presented in the Holy Bible through the lips of this little serpent that is coming to people, and he tells them a lie. You eat from the tree. God said you will die, but you will not. This was a lie. Actually, they died. They died not physically and not right away. They died afterwards. Adam and Eve, before they ate from the tree, they were not supposed to die. Death was not supposed to be part of a human existence. With the eating of the tree, death comes into the world. But it begins with a serpent's lie. Then, from that moment and on, lie is at the basis of every single sin that is committed by a human being. A lie to ourselves, a lie to others. When somebody lies to us, causes us to commit a sin. Lie is at the basis of all evil that exists in this world. This is why Satan is called the father of lies. Because through lies, he is constantly driving us away from the state of grace. State of grace is the original state in which we were created. And this was, if we can, we cannot imagine it properly, but if we had the ability to imagine how God wanted us to be, and that image that God had did not include sin, death, struggling, suffering, pain, illnesses. It was not in God's image. We cannot imagine how God imagined things and how He wanted us to be, what was His idea. But we can try to get there. We can try to pursue the state of grace. And the state of grace is this perfect image of a human being without including in that image any evil. This is the state of grace. This state of grace is given to us after Christ's life and after Christ's resurrection for us. It is given to us through many different ways. The most important tools that are given to us by Christ through the church for reaching that state of grace are the sacraments. We have the sacraments, starting with the sacrament of baptism, starting with the sacrament of confirmation, and with the sacrament of Holy Eucharist. These three sacraments together, they create a bond, right? That they are bound together. They create a bond between us and God. Bond. A bond between us and God, creating, returning us to the state of grace. This does not mean that the consequences of the original sin are washed away. They're not washed away, as the consequences of many other sins. Even if they are forgiven, the consequences still stay. This is why, even though by baptism, confirmation, and communion, we recreate this bond. We get back into bond. We get back into the state of perfect grace, but the consequences of original sin still stay with us. And the action of evil, of the Satan, also, we are influenced by him. This is why we continue having temptations, and we are weak, and we will still fall ill, and we will die. Our soul will be separated from our body, because the consequences of the original sin, even though the sin itself has been forgiven and washed away, the consequences still stay with us. This is why we need so desperately the holy sacrament of reconciliation. Why Christ creates this mystery? Why he institutes that, if that's a proper word? Because he is the one to know the truth about a human being. And he wants us to know the truth about ourselves. And something that he really knew about people, and he was not judging people for that. He knew that people are sinful, and the people are weak. And if we follow the gospel, we will hear many times when Christ says, even when there were people around him, he was being crucified. He was on the cross, suffering horrible pain and being thirsty, and being for a day in a row, for 24 hours in a row, they were beating him up, and he was already on the cross, an inch from death. And at that moment, he would turn to God, and he would find the words of justification for his torturers. He would say, "Forgive them. They do not know what they are doing." He was trying to justify their actions of the men who were killing him. And this is not just out of his goodness. This was out of his knowledge. He knew that these people, they really do not know what they do. And when he looks at us now, when he looks at us sinners, he knows that we are weak and we are sinful. And he is ready, and he knows that this is something that we cannot really overcome. We have to try, and we do try, but we cannot overcome. And he knows this about us. This is why he is always, constantly, absolutely every single moment of our life, he is out there, ready to reach out his hand of forgiveness and hand that forgiveness to us. This is why even at the moment of the sin, he is already forgiven us, hoping that one moment we will understand that we have sinned, and we will turn to him asking for forgiveness. And another final point in this introduction to the Holy Confession, confession is about truth. As sin is about lie, confession, the holy mystery of reconciliation, is about truth. We have to learn the truth about ourselves. We have to open our eyes towards the truth of God. We have to open our lives towards this walk away from sin and towards the grace and the fulfillment of God's original plan of holiness, plan of perfection, plan of eternal salvation. Glory to Jesus Christ.
Glory to him forever.